Alright, what's going on, guys? So today we're going to be throwing in some new injectors in the Miata. So what we got in it right now, we just got the stock boys. We're going to go ahead and pitch those. What I do have for us, I got some of these. There's some LS injectors that I took the caps off of. So the stock injectors from Miata flowing about 260, which is about the same as these. When you decap them, they'll flow about 800. So everybody's saying like, oh, you can't throw this in there. Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna show you guys how to do it. First thing we need to do is get the intake manifold, upper intake manifold out of here, so that way we can get to the injectors, get to the fuel rail, and start messing with that. So upper intake's off. So now we just gotta get the fuel rail off. Just 3 12mm headed bolts. Pop that off, then we can get at these injectors. Alright guys, so upper intake's off, fuel rail's over, out of the way. We got all our injectors out. You can see where the injectors will be sitting right down in here. And so what we got is we got our LS injector, right? And then I showed you guys these top hats I bought that go from the 14 to the 11mm for the adapter for the fuel rail. And then what I ended up buying was this injector cushion, this injector seat. That's what they call them. So it's just kind of just make it so that way it can sit in there. It also like buys a little bit of length, so it should be able to sit in there and seal up, sit centered. I can show you guys the comparison of the length between the two of them, so you can see that they are almost the same length. My thoughts are is if they're not, I can remove that blue O-ring, but I think it'd be better to have them slightly longer than too short, so that we can kind of squish on there together. So I think this should be good. I'm gonna try putting them in there. We'll see how this goes. All right, so we got the injectors in there with those top hats. They seem to be fitting just fine, you know, so like not too much pressure on them, but enough to seal them up. So what I also did was I turned the car over a couple times, or turned the key on, cycled the key a couple times just to get some fuel running through there, pressurize it, and they are holding. So I think that we should be good as for them sealing up in there. All right, so like we talked about before, we got the Miata connectors still in our Miata, and we're running LS injectors. So what we're gonna do is I got some extra terminals, some male terminals that go into the Miata connectors that's on the car. I'm going to solder that into the pigtail for the LS injectors, and then that way, so we'll have something that looks like this, right? So that way, we can take the connectors off of the Miata injector, the Miata harness, and then we can plug them in, and then I'll just run some heat shrink, you know, over it, so that way they can't come apart. The reason I'm doing it this way rather than just cutting the wires and soldering the connectors, just because this is something I feel like is a little bit more forgiving if I have to go back. I don't want to have to re-solder all these wires in the car. Alright, I'm done with the soldering all 4 of those terminals in. So what we're doing now is we just gotta get these connectors off. Got a pick, we're gonna stick it in there and just try to get the there's like a locking tab, and then there we go. We can just pull it out. Sometimes you just don't know if you have it or not. There we go. Okay. Alright, well look at the wiring diagram, figure out what's what. White and blue is our constant power. You know, on the red one, I'm pretty sure at least is constant power on the LS injector. So ground operated. Plug ground in on both of them. Oh darn! Forgot most more. Slide over our heat shrink. Alright, so we're on there. We just gotta shrink it. And then I think I'm gonna wrap these in, you know, in some electrical tape. Alright, we'll do the same thing for the other one. Okay, so we got them all wired in there, right? Cleaned them all up. You know, got them how we want them. So what I'm gonna do, just to check over some work, I'm just gonna make sure that all 4 of these have power where there should be power. So the key's on, we should have a constant ground, and yeah, we got 12 volts. So I'm just gonna check off all 4 of them. And then the ground I can't really check unless we wanted to pin it out to the PCM, but I think we should be good. Plug it in. At least we know we have power to all of them. So all right, yeah, we're gonna plug them in and slowly start assembling this. Okay, so we got a light layer, silicone, some RTV on the gasket, both sides. We're just gonna put that upper intake back on and bolt her in. So everything's back together. Intake's on. Vacuum lines are all where they're supposed to be. And the one thing we do have to do is we have to go in the MegaSquirt and we have to adjust our ejector size. So I will show you guys how to do that. So right now we're in Tuner Studio and we are just going to go up here to basic load settings. Then we'll go to engine and sequential settings. Required fuel. It'll pop up this box. We'll just adjust the injector flow rate in cc's per minute to 800. We'll hit OK. And then we can hit burn bottom. Close this out. It's going to require a power cycle. So we'll just key the ignition off. So it goes offline, then key it back on. And then another thing you might want to do is also just adjust your injector dead time, which is in your fuel settings, and then you just go to your injector dead time. So mine, yeah, I think like 0.9, maybe 0.8 is probably good. You're gonna have to play with this just to kind of get it right. It might also be a couple things else you have to play with, so we're gonna burn that. And then I think we should probably just do a power cycle. It's not really asking for one, but alright. So, and then we should be good. We can crank her up. So there you go. No, it's not terrible. It definitely needs a little bit of adjustment, but I mean it seems to be running, you know, decent. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start actually to tune it. I bought the Autotune feature. So I think we just have to wait for it to reach, warm up a little bit. So I think I'm going to drive it a little bit. So in order for the you to start using Autotune, you have to set your minimum coolant temperature coolant temp for it to Autotune. So this is 160 per enter, the proper loop. So I think that we should be good. So yeah, so I'm just gonna go to the Tune Analyze tab, right, and then we can go down to Start Auto Tune. And and then it should be correcting. Nice adjusting, so that way it's going to be taking the target of the AFRs, putting it where you know it wants the base map. So it's just going to be adjusting the fuel. So I mean, now we're pretty much just going to drive it. It's going to show you over here kind of like the status of everything. So it'll just show you, like, this is a smaller version of the map. It's going to show you like where it's successfully auto-tuned, where it's confident with where you're at, and then it'll show yellow in the areas that are pending and stuff, and then white where it hasn't touched. So I mean, you pretty much just need to drive it, so that way you can see all the areas and just kind of adjust the way it needs to. So as you can see from the top right, a lot more is green, a lot more is yellow. So it's not done auto tuning, and I still have to hit a lot more of the map, but it is better. So you know, you can tell it's idling better, it's running a little bit better. So yeah, that's good, right? So, and you can even see it's getting darker green in some areas where it's like, you know, like where it was idling, where it has spent a good amount of its time. So it really has that down pat. So also in this setting is kind of nice. So there's advanced settings. You can go up here to change resistance. You can change kind of how hard or how much it takes to for the cells to change, right? So if it's easy or if it's hard. I'm just gonna leave it at normal, just because I feel like you don't want it easy, because then it's gonna be kind of overcompensating, and I think hard might take a little while to actually get it where you want it. And I mean, I have this feature, so I can always just change that later on. Another thing that's nice is you can kind of like highlight cells. You can like, well, if you look at the 3D curve of it, you can like smooth some of the stuff out. So like if there's parts that it didn't really get to the tuning, you know, it can, you'll like smooth it out, or like you can also like interpolate some of this stuff. Like there's other keys to interpolate it, so it's just going to kind of blend all together better. So I think that's kind of cool. So once you're kind of done with whatever you want, you just save it to the ECU, and it should be all set. All right, guys. So the Miata is running. It's idling. It's got the 800cc injectors, the LS injectors. So I mean, glad that that's super cheap for you know how accurate and how much these injectors flow. It's running pretty good with the with these injectors. So I can't complain. Hopefully this helped. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, anything to support the channel. And I think that's about it. So thanks, guys. All right, peace.